Hi everyone, this is Danielle. I want to thank you guys for sitting through our training this session. I know it's been longer than usual with all of the Edition 8 updates. So I'm going to keep this section as short and sweet and to the point as possible. We're going to go through some updates on NCRs, Repositrak, and cover some reminders and updates to the EAGLE process. First, we're going to start with verifying prior NCRs and EMIS and that process, the changes to that process as we go forward. Since we started using EMIS to manage NCRs a little over a year ago, we're going to begin using EMIS to capture the evidence gathered while verifying prior NCRs as well. To begin this process, you'll log into EMIS where you're going to document your verification. This must be completed prior to submitting the final reports to EAGLE. To access the NCR to verify, you're going to select the audit from the audit list under audits you're scheduled for in the next 6 months, which is circled in red below. You'll then go to the previous NCR tab on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll select the NCR for which you want to document your verification. Then you'll click on On-Site Verification on the left side of the screen, and you'll click Add. To select the response from the drop-down, you have two choices. You're going to either select Corrective Action Verified as Effective, which means you're closing the NCR, or Corrective Action Not Fully Effective, which means that you are not closing the NCR. If you are deeming the NCR not effective, the corrective action not effective, because there's still a non-conforming situation, you'll select corrective action not fully effective, and you'll then note that you are issuing a new non-conformance. This way, corrective action will be required once again for the NCR. Since you're reissuing the finding, you will close it on the Auditor Status tab and issue a new finding for the current audit. To enter the verification statement, you'll type into the statement section. The summary that you include should include the evidence and what you reviewed to determine the status of the NCR or the corrective action. If it's not effective, you should also include this in your summary. You'll also enter your initials in the verified by field so that we can see clearly which auditor closed the NCR. To update the status and the final step in this process, you're going to go to the Auditor Status tab on the left-hand side of the screen, and then you are going to click Verified On-Site or Closed. We've also updated Work Instruction 215 Food to include this process for verifying prior NCRs and EMIS. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself, Lindsay, or Ryan. We'll be more than happy to walk you through the EMIS process. The next item we're going to cover is the new Repositrak Excel template. We had recently sent out a From the Nest to go over this new template, but we felt that it would be a good refresher to include in this training as well. On this screen, you'll find the important points to remember and where you're going to do most of your typing for the Repositrak or the Excel template. The first thing to notice is number 1, which is the audit information. This information will be pre-populated before it's sent to you guys. It'll include the supplier name, the supplier company number, and the audit number. This information should not be updated, or it won't update back into the database for us. Point number 2 is the primary response dropdown. This is where you're going to select compliant, critical, exemption, major, minor, not applicable, and OIP. Just a reminder that with Edition 8, OIPs will no longer be an option in this. Number 2.1 is the evidence box. This is where you'll put evidence if there's a finding, critical, major, minor, OIP. This is also where you'll put evidence for those items that are exempted or not applicable. The summary evidence box is point 2.2. This is where you're going to include your section summaries, which are still required as they were for the previous macro report. And finally, number 2.3 is where you'll find the element number. So it'll be the module and the element numbers for that section of the code. If I went too quickly for you on these, or if you need a reminder, these are also explained on this slide here. That's going to be available to you in the PDF of the slide presentation. There were also some tips and tricks that we had found to reformat these Excel reports and make them a little more user-friendly. The first, and probably most important, is that you can unprotect these worksheets by clicking the Review tab at the top of the worksheet and then clicking on Unprotect Sheets, which is circled here in red. By unprotecting the sheet, you can then reformat the cells to wrap text and also adjust the column width so that you're not jumping to the right and losing all of those other boxes on the left. There are some directions included on this slide on how to wrap the text and the column width. You can also use spell check when the sheet has been unprotected. To do so, you'll click on the Review tab and then click on Spelling at the far left of the toolbar. Another trick would be that you can drag and drop repeated responses in column E for your primary responses. This should only be used on the individual elements. The summaries should remain as NA as they appear in the template supplied to you in EMIS. Going forward, we're going to include the unprotected versions of the Excel report in EMIS for you, save you some time on reformatting these, and hopefully make this process a little less cumbersome with the reformatting of that Excel sheet. Next, we're going to move to reviewing some changes, including shift coverage, blackout dates, and electronic signatures. We're going to start with shift coverage. The site audit shall include a review of all operational and cleaning shifts and pre-operational inspections where applicable. We have done a fair job of this in the past. I know we try to see all shifts. SQF, however, is going to be focusing on the coverage of all shifts going forward. So we need to make that more of a priority to be sure that that's done. And this should also be included in the schedule that's turned into Eagle so that we can show evidence of all shifts being reviewed. Blackout dates are also going to need to be verified going forward. Edition 8 includes a new requirement in Module 2 of each code except quality regarding blackout dates for unannounced audits. You will need to verify that these blackout dates were submitted to Eagle and review records to verify that the site was not operating on those dates. A blackout date section has also been added to the Eagle template where any blackout dates submitted to Eagle will be documented for unannounced audits. We ask that you provide evidence that the blackout dates were valid in this section of the Eagle report as well. Another update made by Eagle in regards to electronic signatures. During our annual ANSI audit, a best practice was communicated that typed signatures should be in a script style font to more closely meet the definition of a signature. An electronic signature, as always, is preferred. However, if a typed signature better suits your needs, we will accept those in one of the 3 fonts below. Those include Brush Script MT, Rage Italic, and Vladimir Script. Next, we're going to cover a few other Eagle report updates and reminders. With the implementation of Edition 8, we've created some additional versions of the Eagle report templates as well. The first of which is an SQF Food Safety Code, formerly Level 2, and Quality Code combo. And the second is the SQF standalone quality template. We've also added a section to document any changes in the number of HACCPs for a site. This will help us to verify that the audit time is accurate and that it meets the criteria in the audit duration guide. With the removal of site information in the new Excel template for Repositrak, we want to remind everyone that site information needs to be updated in the Eagle report, and it should match that information included in the facility description of the Repositrak report. Also, just a reminder, when reducing audit time on site, the office should be contacted to be sure that we are meeting the requirements for minimum audit time, and so that the audit can be updated accordingly in email. Next, we're going to look at the use of Eagle SQF logos and Quality Shield. We're going to start with the SQF logo usage. SQF certified facilities may use the SQF logo below. Facilities may request this logo from their certifying body by contacting the certification manager. Use of the logo is subject to the rules of usage and the appendices of the appropriate SQF Edition 8 code. If the certificate status changes to either suspended or withdrawn, or it expires, the use of the SQF logo must stop. SQF Quality Shield use is our next topic. Only SQF Quality Code certified facilities may use the Quality Shield. Certified facilities must maintain certificates in current and non-suspended status. If suspended or withdrawn, the shield also is withdrawn. If using the shield on anything other than the certificate, they must request a shield from the certification body. The shield is then created by the CB with the CB name and the unique certificate number of the quality certified facility. Use of the Eagle Food Registration logo. A company registered by Eagle Food Registrations, Inc. may use the Eagle Food Registrations logo and the appropriate accreditation symbol as follows. The Eagle Food Registration logo may be used on a company's literature, such as letterheads, business cards, brochures, advertising, and marketing materials, and it shall only be used within the scope of the company's registration. The Eagle Food Registrations logo shall state SQF registered by Eagle Food Registrations, Inc. What do you look for when auditing? You should discuss the use of SQF logo and shield and Eagle logo at the opening meeting. You'll ask the site if and how they use the logo shield or Eagle mark. You'll check the company website to look for usage of logos or verbiage stating that the client is certified. You also want to look at business cards, letterheads, sales sheets, any other documents that they might be using logos on. For quality customers, you'll also look at packaging. If a company has multiple locations that are all individually certified, all locations must maintain the certified status in order to use the logo on corporate websites or other corporate communications. If a company with multiple level 3 sites they can request a corporate quality shield from the certification body as well. In your audit report, you'll want to mark, indicate how the logos are used or if they're not used. For the Repositrak report, you'll mark NA and enter evidence statement in the Repositrak report if the site is not using a quality shield for quality clients. If they are, you'll document how the site is using the quality shield and determine if it's compliant to the SQF rules in the appropriate appendices. Eagle report, you're going to mark the appropriate statements with an X and add any necessary comments to the logo section on page 2 of the Eagle report. Next, I'm going to cover some reminders about unannounced audit schedules. We do have a work instruction 135 for unannounced audit protocol. Auditors are required to complete an audit schedule for facilities that will be audited under the unannounced audit protocol. The schedule should be emailed like normal to schedules@eaglecertificationgroup.com. Do not email the schedule to the client, but instead present it to them at the start of the opening meeting. You'll want to ensure that it is reviewed during the opening meeting so that any conflicts can be addressed immediately. When you arrive at the facility, you'll handle the opening meeting as you would for any other announced audit. If the client wants to delay as they are pulling their staff together, request that you perform the opening meeting at a later time and go immediately to the floor for a walkthrough. For unannounced audits, you must be on the floor to tour the facility within 60 minutes of your arrival. This should be included in your schedule that's turned into Eagle. And finally, a few reminders about transfer audits. We've been seeing some recent trends with these audit reports. The first of which is that comments are being included in the report that documents are not available for review, but there was no prior communication with the office to inquire about those documents. Transfer documents are attached as a zip file under the Templates and Reports tab of the audit in EMIS. If those documents are not available in EMIS, please reach out to your certification manager to get those documents before completing the transfer review. The second trend we've noticed is that there are no comments being included for the specific document review sections in the report. Each of the 6 sections listed in Part C of the report should have comments detailing what was reviewed and whether or not it meets the requirements of the code. Before closing this section, I just want to provide a very important revision to the Edition 8 updates with Roger. Since recording his section of this training, it was shared that surveillance audits after January 2nd, 2018 will be performed to the same edition of the code as the previous certification or recertification audit. For instance, if a surveillance audit results from an Edition 7.2 recertification audit, the surveillance audit will also be to Edition 7.2. As always, we want to thank you all for joining us for this training and all that you do for Eagle.